actually a little bit larger than the tire, so I would imagine it might float a little bit. Um, the other thing I forgot to like really look at was on my emitter on a Unity's basic cylinder. If you don't move the collision out to the actual edge of it, then anything you hit right here was going to be missing anyway, because technically this would have been further down in here. What you got to realize is I don't have any. Oh, it did detect both. I don't have any. Oh gosh, I can't think of what it's called. It's basically as stock as you could get when it comes to this kind of script. There's not any real smoothing or anything. That's why when I drive and let off, it like instantly stops. If it does do it, it's that's a good sign. But what I'm more concerned about is when it comes up to a wall, is it going to detect the wall, or is it going to let half of the wheel poke through? Because that's the big thing I can't have failing me right now. Suspension is very easy to manage, to work out, because I know a few different really sweet setups for that. Suspension was never my issue, even though this car seems to not really have much of it right now. It wasn't the goal of what I was doing, but I definitely have that. Um, it's enough. I wanted to try to go up a little higher each one, and I'm just guessing this. I'm not like doing it. What's good about this compared to the cylinder is the actual collision around the box is actually pretty close to being right there on the edge. If it's not, like it's really there, and that's important for the wall part of it. Because even if it does manage to magically climb up this, even though it technically shouldn't, Lambo's just a test car, bro. But we'll see what happens here. If anything, I want to drive around to like right here to where the tire could hit, where the bumper should still be above the ground, hopefully. I put a simple collision up here, a little rectangle way above the tires and everything, and even skinnier than the tires would stretch. That is so that I can have this bumper clip through with no collision, so that I ensure that I'm actually testing the tire. I guess this tire's gonna hit first. Okay. So yeah, I would say they are a little bit larger. Now you can tell because the tire is a little bit higher, and that can be worked out. The fact that it is colliding though is very good, because that means my tires aren't going to poke through, if as long as I ensure I don't make my suspension overpower that. And it may look like I'm building a super triple A style game. It's not the purpose of what I'm building. I don't know, it's a fun thing, man. It's a fun thing to do. That we can kind of walk these wheels back and forth and get up these steps, bro. That's interesting. Because let me tell you, this car doesn't technically have friction right now. It's just having a push force push it. These stairs are just collisions. There's not actual friction on them or anything. What I mean is there's nothing holding the tire from trying to go up it. What I wanted to say that I was running so long in the video. So I'm going to try to cut this one up into a easier watch than like an hour, 20 minutes. All this red is like the side that you saw that would be filled with water. Now the tank that I showed was a little bit different, but even above, when you could see the water above, what is hard to tell in the Rover is there's actually glass, because this is an aquarium like area. So that was there. But anyway, we came in here to look at the tire. I just wanted to point that out because it was something. It's tricky to see. Anyway, you see 22.1 feet. And your Z here from the top to the bottom, it's measuring that from edge to edge. So the width of this is 14.2 foot, and that's, you gotta figure in this plate here is actually attached to that. So if this was setting on a trailer, like that obviously wouldn't really be getting in the way because it's a little bit higher. Yeah. I mean, you could guess what it might weigh. I couldn't tell you. I wish I knew with this entire rover, because it's got 8 of those, okay? And then this entire, the blue well, these things, what size is like the body of this? You see? Like it's like 13.2 foot wide from end to end on this. That's the widest point. I told you this thing was like an SUV, bro. this this little drone here, that thing is massive. While I was in here, I decided I would go ahead and add some stuff for my mirrors. That's going to be in other things, but I'm gonna do this without blinding everybody. Want a little bit of daylight. Where's the sun, bro? Can you go up and be like behind me somewhere? Where you're not in my way. Okay. So anyway. That's the current time it is for me right now. Right here. And I forget you can't see my mouse. My pointer is hovering over the clock. You know what? I think I can... Let me fix that. Okay. I'm going to have my cursor on for this. That way when I'm pointing at stuff, bro, like this block here, you'll know what I'm talking about. The other one here... Let me unlock this rigid body. It's just for me to show what it is. But you'll understand if I get like up here where nothing's in the way of this. And if I need to, you know, I can just change my field of view of my camera and stuff like that. Speaking of, you know, these mirrors here, since this is the left top, my left top mirror, bottom mirror, mid mirror, top and bottom are controllable mirrors, and the mirrors themselves don't have to move to do this. Okay, so I believe I have 9 bringing that top mirror down and up like that, and I have 7 and 8 going left and right with it like that, and then 0 would switch to my left bottom mirror, which I could do the same with left and right, so that I have like legit, bro, adjustable mirrors. Now, what's cool about the way I did this is my mirror does not have to move at all to do this. And this is for the right mirror over here. I wanted to move it up or down or left or right. And this will be important for like a future game that I make, not the one I'm currently working on. The one I was building before I got to this one, or before I started building the one I'm building currently. There is a game I'm building that mirrors like this will definitely be in, because, you know, you're going to be pulling things from time to time, you know, if you would like. And just to show that the bottom one would move as well. Of course it would. Why wouldn't it, you know? There's something I could have done differently on the bottoms, which I was supposed to do, and I guess I didn't do it. Oh yeah, I can even adjust the mirror up here in the center. The way the thing is on this one though, I need to rotate that around, but it looks a little crooked to me when I move it. But it might just be the way I'm looking at it, bro. But also, it's hard to tell with not enough light that you can see in the actual interior there. See? I would be right there in that driver's seat. You just, you know, there's no one in this seat. I thought that was a pretty cool thing, you know. It's something I've been wanting to do, and there were some things about it that I learned performance-wise in this version of Unity that is very taxing. So, to show you better, we can unlock the rigid body, and I'll drive a little bit so we can focus on the middle screen here more. Because right now, you know, the backup camera is technically what that would be right now. Once I get driving, we won't be shaking as much, hopefully. Also, can I turn that engine down? Alright, that's kind of quiet there. Good. I didn't want it to be screaming. So, number 4 on my hotkeys here on the numpad switches my camera on that middle one. So as you can see, I got a camera right there in there with the engine. Thought that was pretty cool. We got one down here on my drive shaft. When I'm rolling this thing in reverse, it's spinning that way, and when I'm rolling this thing in drive, it's spinning that way. If it looks like it's jerking back and forth, it is. It literally is, because there's no brake on this right now. And it's just straight forward and straight back right now. The driving of this was not the point of why I was in this scene. And obviously, I pulled this on a build that was working in a newer version that the driving also wasn't important on that. This, until I started recording like 5 minutes before, didn't even have a transmission. It was just all torque. So it was always showing like 6,000 on the RPM. It was a test on getting another thing working on it across other vehicles, but like this was the thing I decided to mess with. Now you've probably seen this. If you probably haven't, but if you did watch the Farming Sim video where I had the Kinfolk Denali in there, this is it right here. You know, I didn't really change a lot to it since then. I actually wasn't planning on using it for anything, but it was ready to go, so we'll just hide it for a minute. Just so you can see the top. There's a 6.6 twin charged one. This one's just the turbo, and it doesn't even have the fancy turbos like the other one had. So this is like my 6.6 basic turbo with just some souped up internals in there or whatever. Just for fun stuff, you know? Why not? But look at my belt, bro. It's about to snap. Okay? We can't even see it from here. Earlier when I was looking at this thing, though, it looked like it was... Oh, look, you can see it right here. Earlier, this thing was pulling wheelies and stuff. It's a shame you missed out on that, but I wore this sucker down, evidently. Anyway, the point of this vehicle is not showing it off at all. It was to show these mirrors and to say about the performance stuff. So right now, the way this version of Unity works, if you don't do anything else but put cameras and render them to the material, you can only have so many of those running. I have a total of 6, and at first I had my middle cameras there. I'd have to turn this down again with the stats. So yeah, right now we're only getting like around 40 to 60. And it's because of the cameras. Like, it's because of the cameras. So if I disable my reverse cam, you see the frames? If I disable, well, that one's already disabled because it's not looking at it. If I disable these mirrors, see that? That one's off. That one's off. That one's off. So yeah, I mean, that shows you the difference in how much performance, if you don't do anything about it, what you would be looking at. Like, having them all on like I had earlier, it dropped down. It went from this to 40. So, let me undo that so you can see these frames start to drop down. Even at 40 though, for this, like right here, it still seemed fine because you're not running around a lot, I guess. I don't know. But staying above 60, you know, it's pretty smooth anyway, but I'm just gonna let you know though what those frames would look like if you did that. I'm waiting for something to stick its head up right here. But that ain't gonna happen. The camera that I didn't show was the front cam. Let me swing around. And the top cam. The top cam isn't really that great where I currently have it positioned based on this plain world. I would imagine if you had something more detailed and built out that it might look better. Man, my suspension does not work in this version though. The things that are supposed to be keeping it from going through the ground like this is having a hard time because it's missing when it definitely is ground all right here. It'll get fixed, I hope, or it'll pop out of here. But yeah, this is one of the reasons why I'm not building on Unity's 22. And this thing just got updated like last month too. But I mean, you know. There you can see the drive shaft spinning kind of lower and in reverse. Tap it. You know, if I was trying to do cinematic things, I would have made this thing run proper, but that's not what this was for. So here we have my front camera, and you'll notice how much faster it looks like we're moving down there than up here. Technically, both views are true, though, because it's attached to the car, and it's moving as fast as this is. That's just a different point of view of, like, what it would look like if you were right there looking compared to being up here, which you're used to seeing, and your eyes have slowed that down compared to down there where moving at 30, and you can see the difference, bro. Quite interesting. Because you look like you're running 100 mile an hour when you look at the screen down there. This thing does not want to turn either because that freaking traction isn't working in this version like it was before. It tries, man. I'm surprised it didn't just fall through the ground, but because it doesn't have any colliders on this thing at all. None. That's the top view. The other thing I could have done but didn't was have a zoom in and out on any of these cameras. So like the top view here that's active, and currently right now, when I switch to a camera that's showing on here, that's the one that's going to be active. It was weird that that reverse camera was checked for a minute, right? Since we're looking at this one. But anyway, if you change your FOV, you can get it closer out. It's just this camera that goes over the top isn't really that great the way the camera just is in this. I mean, that's about all you can really do as far as the top goes right here. It's also quite dark, so it's hard to tell that that's even the same car. But it is. It definitely is. I put that little piece of light there that would shine out there to show that it definitely is this one. I mean, you could also tell the terrain is moving the same rate that this is. Um, So I was gonna have, the reverse cam only. That's what this is. The reverse cam only come on when you put it in reverse. But really, I like it more like this where you could toggle it because when you're pulling the trailer and stuff with things on it, you can switch to this to check it rather than trying to look through here or like trying to look through your mirrors, trying to look back. You don't really get a good view. And with having the access right here to where you could see, because this black piece is the rear bumper. So you would see the hitch connected right here, and you would see your big boat or whatever that was on it, just to check it, man. And if you wanted to look at your engine, you watch your belt break off or something. I thought that was a cool thing because I already had the pulleys and everything spinning with the engine and stuff. Even before there was a sound going to it. It's a bit tricky with the fan though right now because when I hit the throttle, previously it looked like it was reversing, but it was the way it was spinning. But it wasn't spinning so fast that looked like it was going in reverse. It literally looked like it went from one way to another, and it didn't like start going back the other way at all. Tires should do the reverse thing like you would see on a real car if I can get up to enough speed, but this thing doesn't even want to stay straight. Also surprising that these tires stay above ground. Like I said, there's not any colliders on this at all. And there's a reason for that. Sucks not having any brakes on this thing, bro. But yeah, that's all this is. Junk.